Hi from BeingMommywithStyle, and today I wanted to do a video on, is social media a job? And by the way, what do you do for work? So this got brought up because of an interesting comment down in the comments of a different video, and someone was very convinced not just that social media wasn't a job for me, but I think social media wasn't a job for anyone. But then also, I don't think that they're necessarily aware it's what I do actually out in the world, like for other companies as well. So I wanted to talk about it today, and it's been interesting because I think YouTubers have become more open in talking about this. And the lines are very blurry when you're on YouTube or you have a blog, and it's intermersed very much with your personal life. In fact, you have to deal with that even when you go to do your taxes and figure out, what was a business expense and what was a personal expense, and figure it out from that angle too. But the one thing I will say is that YouTube is a job for a number of people, and just by simple definition of, if you make over a certain amount of money doing it, you have to file taxes, and in essence is a job. However, when you work, does that mean that it feels like work? Maybe not necessarily, and I think that's the beauty of being able to do something that you love doing something that's enjoyable. And yes, it does afford people that do it really unique opportunities. So I think it's tough when you're on the other side of the camera. You don't see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on, and maybe don't really get that, there's a lot of work that does go into it, but it is enjoyable work. So YouTube as, a whole for me, it is a business. It is a business that I run, but social media is actually what I do for my job out in the world as well. So I didn't actually realize that people didn't realize that until this person was commenting, and they're like, well, you don't even use social media in your job, so you shouldn't be going to social media conferences. I do actually use social media. In fact, it's the main part of what I do out in the world. My job previous to this one, I was social media manager and the marketing team lead because my degrees are in marketing. So we would do the traditional print and all the billboards, all those sorts of things, radio commercials and recording like that, but it's very heavily social media oriented. And now this position that I've taken, it's very, very heavily social media oriented. And it's got more PR wrapped in, where I'm going out and seeing people face to face in different cities. It's got more travel and that sort of thing. So it's a very actually similar idea to what I was doing before at the other company. And it's very social media based, percentage wise. The majority of my focus is content creation and connecting with people over social media, which I feel, it's something that I have been doing for a number of years. So it's really kind of cool that this thing that I developed while I was staying at home with the girls actually kind of spun into what has become what looks like will be my career path. And it's very interesting because when I was, in the early days of getting my first marketing degree, it was very traditional marketing oriented. The idea of marketing to people through the internet was very, very new at that time. By the time I got my second degree, I actually had started doing YouTube videos shortly around that time period when I was getting my graduate degree. But it was still new. It's still uncharted territories. It still is new now. I mean, really, when you look at the grand scheme of things, you see how long newspapers have been around. How long has the internet been around? How long has YouTube been around? So I think that the landscape is ever changing, and that's one of the reasons why continual learning, lifelong learning, and making sure that you immerse yourself in the changes, what's going on, what's new, is a big part of being able to stay on top of the social media landscape. All that being said, really, social media just uses a new tool to use marketing and communication in a different way. So marketing doesn't always have to mean sales. I think a lot of times when people think marketing, they think sales, but actually when I got my first marketing degree, my specialization was in branding. So the idea of building a brand and building a story around that brand and immersing all these brand concepts into your communication is what always has most interested me. And I think that's why YouTube is so appealing to me, because it really has been almost like a playground for me to be able to start like these different brands and like develop these stories. And it's also kind of, I think, one of my fatal flaws, because I enjoy playing around with it so much. A lot of times I can't narrow down or really keep myself into one specific niche, which is actually one of my goals for this upcoming year. You know, I've looked at my channels and I know that I need to really niche down to just, you know, have a better focus for myself. But then it just is better for the audience as well. So it is tough when it's so intertwined with your personal, and especially when you're a vlogger, if you're vlogging your daily life, well, you know, how do you tie that in together? But there are a number of people on social media that they do this full time. I know a number of people, which I'm not going to sit here and name them off, but they actually started YouTube when they had a full-time job, and they actually started doing it full time. I want the opportunity. I think it's a very cool, unique position that I'm in, to be able to use my skills at a company that may not necessarily have access to those skills otherwise. I have really a unique set of experience. I mean, not everyone has developed, you know, their own social media and YouTube channels for a number of years. So I like that I have the shot to be able to use that and help companies. And so I like that aspect. That being said, there's a lot of different things that in the future it could spin into, consulting and that sort of thing. There's a lot of people that run their own courses and stuff like that. But I still feel like I'm very young and I want to get experience in as many different ways as possible. But there's definitely a ton. I mean, just go to Facebook and find groups that are literally for people working in social media, and you'll find tons of VAs, you'll find tons of people running their own courses, social media management, people that are running their own media companies. So there's just so many different avenues that I feel like it's kind of really, I'm kind of like doing a sampler right now. And so what I'm doing right now is I do social media out in the world for other companies. That being said, I still really like doing this. But social media is definitely a job. I think that there's definitely a misconception there. And it's tough because I think at its core, people that do YouTube, and I think on a whole, a lot of bloggers too, we started doing it because we enjoyed it. And then it kind of turned into a business. But we still do it because we enjoy it. I mean, I very easily could have started doing social media out in the world for companies and said, well, cool, I'm not going to waste my time doing this on the side anymore. But this is something that I really, truly enjoy. And I like looking back on things for myself. You know, we're going to go to this Disney conference and we're going to make a lot of memories as a family. And I'm going to be able to capture some of those, not all of those. That's a whole nother bag of videos right there of, you know, how you capture certain things and then some things you miss. But we're going to capture all these memories and I'm going to be able to look back on them. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most rewarding parts for me of having made the decision to start doing social media as a job or whatever you want to call it back years and years ago, is I now have like this huge catalog and archive of videos that I can go back. And the one that keeps popping to mind is the Cape May breakfast, one of the very first character meals that we did. The girls were teeny tiny, I think like 2 and 4. And Natalie sees Donald walk through that door and she's just like, bah! And I got that on video. And I literally sometimes, if I just want like a pick-me-up or I want to smile, I will go back and watch that moment. Like I have that moment in time. So it is very personal though still too. And it's very cool that we live in this era that we can share it. So it's complicated, which is basically the point of this video, but it is something that can be fun. It is something that is personal, but it is still, I think for a lot of people, even beyond myself, a job that they do for work. But for me, it's even kind of one step further because it's literally what I do during the day too. That being said, burnout is a real thing. And so when I was the social media manager at the other place, I was definitely hitting this point of trying to figure out what I wanted to do long term and just really kind of hitting a burnout point. So this transition has been really good because I have a little bit more freedom to try different things. And because this position is oriented a little bit more, well, first of all, it incorporates travel, which of course I love. So that's going to be cool. But because it's kind of focused a little bit more outward, you know, rather than it all being inward and all having to be done in the office, there's a lot I can go out on campus and do. There's a lot I can do at events and going to travel. that's been an exciting element for me to kind of reinvigorate my interest in it. I really like going to a scenic place and getting scenic shots. I think that, you know, developed from years of doing Disney videos. I mean, that is the ultimate playground for doing videos. So all that being said, it's something that's fun, and I don't think that we should take it for granted, because we live in a very unique time that literally thousands of women are able to hang out at home with their kids and run a business, and that's very cool. And then you can then spin that business into a position for a company if you want, or consulting, or, you know, running other people's social media. It's a very, very cool time. So that was my kind of little thoughts for the day. But then my other question was, is I was like reading these comments, and this person was very convinced that I did not work in social media, which, you know, they were commenting on a YouTube video, but I was like, okay, I'll let that part go. But what do you think I do? So I'm just gonna leave that there. Like, what do you think I do for a living? But anyhow, I don't know whether they thought I was like putting people in rockets and shooting them off or what. But that's it for today. We are looking forward to bringing you our next Disney vacation and sharing our magical moments along the way, and having a couple reviews and things like that. But that being said, the main point of me going is to go to this conference, meet a lot of people, be inspired, and go to the conference sessions and come away with some great information. But when I go to these conferences, I usually come away with some great information. So that's definitely the main point, but there's a lot of other things that will come out of it as well. So let me know if you have any questions down below, and if you run your own social media or you do consulting, let me know down in the comments below what your experience has been, and I will see you in another video very soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.